Welcome to another episode of A Moment of Tiki, coming to you from the Lagoon of Mystery, my home tiki bar in Central Texas. Today, we are going to talk about the Western International Trading Company, better known to most people as Witco. Witco was a company founded in 1958 and initially imported artwork and wall hangings and stuff from Asia for the burgeoning tiki scene. But before long, one of the founding partners, William Westenhaver, decided it would be lucrative to start creating their own custom furniture. What he did was create the Witco look. Witco became synonymous with mid-century modern decor. It was more primitive than the sleek atomic age stuff that you would find, but it was no less iconic. He took he took cypress that was growing in the Pacific Northwest, and would carve it with chainsaws with a very rough hewn look, and then he would aggressively attack it with a blowtorch and sear off some of the softer wood, leaving a very raised texture finish with a lot of light and dark contrast to it. Witco is part of the famed Jungle Room that Elvis had at Graceland. They made chairs, they made stools, they made tables, they made bars, they made cabinets, they made shelves, they made wall hangings. A lot of it was tropical and tiki style. They also did Viking, they did Spanish matador type stuff. They did a whole gamut of mid-century art that was primitive, a little brutalist, very distinctive. One of the biggest thrills is finding a vintage Witco piece in the wild for any type of tiki collector. And I hear, and I have heard, as long as I've been interested in tiki stories, of people finding Witco pieces in thrift stores or for cheap on Craigslist, or thrown out on the side of the road ready for trash to be picked up, and snagging it for themselves. And it's like, oh, why can't that ever be me? Friends and neighbors, it's finally been me. On our recent road trip out west to experience as many tiki bars as the wife and I could possibly experience in a 10-day span, we were killing time and stopped off in a Tucson, Arizona Goodwill just to browse and see what they might have that would be of interest. Lo and behold, we found this on the shelves at a ridiculously low price. No, lower than that. No, lower than that. This was undeniably Witco. I had never seen one like this before. It's two wall hangers with the chains attaching to the base here. What this is a hanging planter. I had never seen one before, but I had no doubt that this was Witco. So here is my challenge. This particular Witco piece has seen some better days. It's not in the best of shape. It's not in bad shape, but it's obviously been hung outside. Has some UV damage. There's some fading to it. It's fairly dirty and dusty. It's been in storage, but not climate controlled storage. There's irregularities in color, and it just needs some care to bring it back up to its former glory. So, normally with wood, and I've shown y'all with rattan and stuff like that, I'll do boiled linseed oil and then a coat of shellac, de-waxed shellac and everything. But this Witco's solid, denser wood. And I've not really worked with this before, so rather than totally screw it up, I reached out to Heather Pleasant and asked her about this. I just realized introductions are in order. Heather Pleasant is the granddaughter of William Westenhaver, the guy who literally invented the Witco aesthetic. She and her husband, Ken Pleasant, now run Pleasant Tiki, the only place that you can go and buy authentic, brand new Witco pieces. So if anyone knows how to restore a weathered, damaged Witco piece, it would be them. And I will have a link to Pleasant Tiki down in the show notes so you can go check them out. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. And she's such a sweetheart. She responded instantly, said, yeah, it's definitely faded, it's beat up a little bit, but it's easy to restore. The first step, she told me, is get some soapy water. And you don't want to soak it so it gets waterlogged or anything, but a rag with some soapy water, just go over it to clean out the dirt and dust and grime and all the yuck that has accumulated over the decades. And so that's what I'm going to do. And already it's just, the rag I'm using right here is filthy. I'm gonna have to go get some more rags because this is gonna be black before I finish even one little piece of this. So not terribly glamorous work right here, but it's easy, simple, and straightforward. And so I'm going to wipe this down tonight, let it dry, and then tomorrow we're going to come back for the second part of Heather Pleasant's recommended Witco restoration process. And we are back for round two. One of the things I noticed yesterday when I was working on this, cleaning it, is how light and dry and brittle it is. I mean, these don't weigh nearly as much as you would think they would. Just from looking at them, they have almost no moisture content. I mean, maybe 10% or something. So the wood is unfinished and is desperately in need of moisturizing. And as I've said in previous videos, you don't want to add water to it because water encourages rot, encourages bacteria, mold, and everything. But when the wood is this dry, it gets brittle, it's not very durable, so you want to do something, and oftentimes that's oil. At first I thought I would use boiled linseed oil on this like I've done on other projects, or maybe some mineral oil, but I contacted Heather Pleasant, like I said, and she recommended using Howard's Feed and Wax. This is a combination of beeswax, orange oil, and some other ingredients that will penetrate into the wood to moisturize without water and then give it a nice sheen to it. And because this is not a drying oil, you can put multiple coats on it to continue to feed the wood and hydrate it and get it back to where it needs to be, so it'll be more durable and restore some of that luster, some of that shine, some of the vibrancy of the original wood. And again, it's not finished, so there is constant moisture exchange taking place all across the surface, especially on the end grains. So I've never worked with Howard's Feed and Wax before. The instructions are pretty simple. Just wipe it on, let it set for an extended amount of time, then remove the excess. It recommends wearing gloves when doing this. So that's what I'm doing. Just wiping it on. And being waxy and oily, it's really, really slick on here. Just slippery along there. And even at this stage, I can see a lot of the grain and the color that was originally part of the finished product here is really starting to pop and come back out. So that's encouraging. And what I'm going to do is just treat the entire surface of this old Witco planter. And when I'm finished with that, we're going to come back and see if it needs a second coat or a third, and go from there. Now the chain on here is pretty old and corroded. Some people might like that. It troubles me. It just looks old and corroded. It doesn't look classic and vintage or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is separate this. Used pliers to pull open the link. And I got replacement chain from a swag kit. Brass chain. I measured it out. And what I'm doing is putting blue tape on the link here so the pliers don't cause any damage to it. One here, and pull it open like that. And big one. Clamp it back together. There you go. New replacement chain. Nice. So I'm going to hang the vertical pieces of the Witco planter on either side of this rattan shelf here. Unfortunately, there are no studs directly behind the wall right here. They don't fall in the proper place, so I'm going to have to use wall anchors for it. So I've got it marked. I measured the distance between the 2 points. I measured the distance from the ground so it's level and marked it, and now I'm going to drill. Now, the wall anchor. Now with the wall anchor in place, I'm going to install this L hook. Now, now things get interesting. This isn't deep enough or wide enough, I think, for real plants to grow in, plus it's an interior tiki space that it's going in. So what to do? Well, I'm going to use some of this flower foam I got and try to make a tiki appropriate artificial display. to go in here. Never messed with this stuff before, so any of you crafty people who are experienced with flower arrangements may well want to avert your eyes, because I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. So I used a pocket knife to cut the rough shape out, and I'm using a rasp to do the more fine tuning aspect. Okay, now that I have the plant foam carved and shaped into the proper form, I'm going to glue the two pieces together. I'm going to put a piece of foil right here just to protect the plant stand, the wood, the Witco, from any ill effects of glue that might spill out. And I'm going to use clear stick foam glue specifically for this to adhere it. So, some pour generous amount on here. Now, to get the two pieces together and rub them so it adheres. Press together. And now we wait. Okay, so here we are back. The glue has worked its magic, and this is now a solid piece. So it's time for the artificial plant material to be placed on here. I went to local Goodwill and found this for a few bucks. It has some nice fake greenery to it, which we will put to good use. It was pretty cheap, I think like $4. But it also has, and this is nice, Spanish moss. Spanish moss is great because it makes a nice substrate we can tuck in here to cover up the obvious foam. I also ordered online because new fake plants are insanely expensive. So I went on to AliExpress. It's a Chinese eBay shop, essentially, Alibaba cross between eBay and Amazon. And I ordered this nice kind of a fern vine here. It was pretty good, realistic, and I'm going to use this. And I also ordered several orchids, because orchids are crazy expensive here in the States. And I got a couple of different colors, and I'm really happy with the quality of these. They look fairly realistic, and they were quite inexpensive. Also ordered a spider plant, and you know, just buyer beware. The one I got, it was pretty crummy, just kind of like almost like paper. It just really stinks, so it's not going to be used on this. So what we're going to do is use these as the base greenery. And this is right here, kind of the largest here. I'm going to stick this in. There. Put another on this side. And the third one over here. Okay. Next. This, and actually try and pull some of this apart. Okay. Some of this green back here. So we're going to have it kind of coming from behind over to the side and hanging down. I'm going for a multi-dimensional look to this. I want to have different plants, some sticking up, some hanging down. Just create that illusion, that verisimilitude. Even though nobody is actually going to think these are real plants in a dark tiki bar, it's nice to help them buy into the illusion. Now, get to do the orchids. Each one of these orchids has a small stalk with just a few flowers and then a larger one. Some somewhat realistic leaves, which is kind of nice. Fold these out, can be adjusted. One. There's the second. It's going back over here. And then the third, because orchids, apart from hibiscus and passion flowers, are some of the most tropical flowers out there. I don't know of any artificial passion flowers. And hibiscus, well, I don't know. I have not seen a whole lot in the way of artificial hibiscus that have been terribly impressive, but orchids are nice. It's not a bad looking flower arrangement for someone who's a complete rank amateur. Now it's time to put everything together and see how well my restoration work stacks up. Doesn't come crashing off the wall, so that's a good sign. And is the leafy vegetation. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think maybe at some point I'll put some LED lights underneath it to give it a little underlighting. But all in all, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. So, my very own showpiece Witco display. Until next time, from the Lagoon of Mystery, aloha.